Hey, we've got more news about the future buffs. We'll also talk about the anti-tank mine, the arc thrower, the Eruptor, and so much more. There's a lot of exciting news to discuss in today's video. If at any point you would like to support the channel, you know the deal. Tap the like button below, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We all know that yesterday the developers at Arrowhead revealed that the flamethrower has been reverted. Now, just recently they revealed in a Discord video that the railgun has also received a huge buff in terms of damage. So how much damage has been increased? Well, if you look right here, this was posted on the Discord where they wrote, buff number 1, the railgun. The railgun's damage will get a boost too. Durable damage will be increased from 60 to 225, and a fully overcharging damage will be increased from 150% to 250%. We kind of knew that the developers were planning on buffing this weapon, but we didn't know how significant the buff would be, and I've got to say that that's a lot of damage. I'm not complaining at all, just surprised. We were originally at 60 damage, and now it's a whopping 225 damage. The developers went into more detail about this. The video was posted on the official Helldivers 2 Discord, which you can see right about now.
My name is Johan Pilestad.
And I'm Niklas Manborg.
Today we're diving into the patch notes of Helldivers 2. What have we done to the railgun?
We booted it up again. The railgun does a lot of damage to normal enemies. It didn't do that much to very large enemies. So we kind of quadrupled that from 60 to 225 in durable damage. Okay. Just in safe mode it will be stronger. Normally if you charge it up like close to full, you did 50% more damage. Now you'll do 150% more.
Does it still have the same overcharge time as before?
Yes.
Now, if that's not a buff, I don't know what is. If you use the railgun right now, there isn't much damage behind it, but now the Arrowhead developers seem to be laying down the hammer, working extremely hard to give us the best update yet. I think that's actually going to be a reality with this next patch because of these changes so far. The coolest part about this whole situation is that they're revealing updates each day, giving us more insight into what's to come. It would be nice to see this as a trend, continuing forward with the next big update, doing the same thing they're doing now, which is revealing information about the patch notes. I think they're doing an excellent job, and it would be great to see that same type of communication for the next patch. This, of course, is not the only buff we're going to see because a support team member may have just thrown us all a bone by hinting at the arc thrower. It might just receive a buff in this next update, which would be big because many of us have been waiting for this weapon to be buffed for quite some time. And it appears that could happen in this next update. So if you look at this post, a player mentioned, don't forget about the arc thrower, to which the support team member Omnivore replied that they have not forgotten about it. With that being said, take it with a grain of salt, but I would say it's safe to assume it's going to receive a buff based on that response. I wonder if they're going to increase the range, considering it was nerfed in a previous patch, or one of the previous patches, or if they're going to increase the damage output. I mean, both sounds great, but who knows what they have planned. Either way, I'm excited. The second buff coming up next is for the Eruptor. Oh yeah, this was a surprise for me because I wasn't too sure if they were ever going to revisit this weapon, but it seems that's not the case, as they have plans to reveal a short video soon that will cover it, as well as what they've done to it. The proof can be seen here on the Helldivers 2 official Discord, where the CEO, Mr. Georgiani, responded to a player who tagged him and asked if the Eruptor will be fixed in the next update, to which the CEO wrote back and said, "We have a short about the Eruptor coming up, if I recall correctly." With this response, there's not a lot revealed here except for the fact they have a short video possibly coming up soon, but at least we know that the Eruptor will most likely see a buff or two. However, with this response, hold off on any expectations because it's not confirmed just yet in the video, but there's a possibility that we will see a status update on it from the Arrowhead developers. On a related note, the support team member B Vitamin sort of hinted that we're all going to be excited about the 4th and 5th changes coming up. The full post can be seen here where B Vitamin said, "I'm glad people are happy about the first change reveal. I'm most excited to hear how people respond to the 4th and 5th one. I'm really excited. It's so hard sometimes knowing stuff that's coming and not being able to talk about it, so it's nice that you guys are finding about some stuff ahead of time." Could it be the anti-tank mines, the Eruptor, or maybe the arc thrower? There are a few possibilities as to what it could be. Maybe it's not the weapons I've listed. It could be something we are not aware of. I'd like to see something we haven't heard about yet, so it's more of a bigger surprise or shocker. That's what I'd like to see instead, but to be fair, I wouldn't mind it if it was something we already know about because they're going to reveal in-game footage of it. And that's going to be awesome to see what they've specifically done with the stratagems, or whatever the case may be. Moving along, the third buff will be for the anti-tank mine, something I'm ecstatic for the most because when I first used the anti-tank stratagem, it was super disappointing for myself as well as for the rest of the community because it was ineffective against chargers. No kidding, and especially the automaton tanks as well. In fact, it wouldn't even damage or affect the tanks at all, which didn't make sense considering it's called an anti-tank mine. Anyways, fast forward to now, the CCO dropped some news about this yesterday. It's now going to be able to one-shot chargers. The proof can be seen here where Mr. Pilstead wrote, "Wait for the rest of the patch notes. We didn't get around to them only triggering from heavy enemies, but yeah, they one-shot chargers now." Can you imagine a bunch of chargers rushing you and your teammates while there's a field full of anti-tank mines? It's going to be completely nuts. I can picture them, being tossed around, ragdolling and whatnot. Also, I'm curious as to what else they have planned for it. I would love to see a cooldown shortened just a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe the damage will be enough to make up for the longer cooldown time. If so, I think that's completely understandable. Although again, I wouldn't mind it if it was lowered. Now, it's awesome to see that all of these buffs are coming along great, and it's something we can expect in the next patch, yet nobody including Arrowhead is talking about bugs and some of the bigger issues with these update videos. Well, I decided to dig around and see what I could find. If you have seen my previous video, then you might recall one specifically that's about the high value asset mission. The main issue with this mission is the fact that the automatons can send down a drop ship that could drop enemies and even tanks on the generators. Now that's not all, there are also problems with the factory striders as well because they can target the generators while behind the first gates on the mission, meaning they shouldn't be able to do this considering it's the first section. And the only way they can target the generators is once they made it past the first two or so barricades. So at the time we learned that it was being looked into by the developers. The good news now is that it will be resolved in this next patch. The good old community manager named Twinbear responded to a Reddit post where this player created a title and wrote, "I've had them drop near the generators but never on the generators. LOL. Twinbear saw this and responded with, "I do actually, and the thing where bots focus more on gens than divers, and one or two other similar issues, is being fixed." Well, there we go. It's in the process of being fixed and should be included in the next patch, if I had to guess. I'm assuming this solely depends on how much they can accomplish before the 17th, which is when the next update is scheduled. I like that there are a bunch of positive changes for the weapons and stratagems, but at the same time, I know a good portion of the community also wants the game to run smoothly, whether it's improving performance, resolving constant crashes, or fixing issues around the social menu. Whatever the bug or situation might be, we mostly want those type of bugs resolved. Alright, moving along, as you all know, the developers released another feedback forum a couple of days ago where Arrowhead provided two different links, one leading to a forum on the PlayStation site, and the other on the Dino site for Discord. The forum on the PlayStation site was filled out quickly. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because the feedback we're submitting might not be reviewed by the Arrowhead developers directly. Instead, Sony will be looking at it. This was confirmed on Reddit by a community manager named Baskinator, who wrote on the Reddit page, stating, "Some information, this survey is conducted by the PlayStation research team. We will pull this link down when the survey has gathered enough responses. We hope to do these more often moving forward." Okay, you can interpret this information however you like. I'm not entirely sure how this process works, whether Sony reviews the feedback and then forwards it to Arrowhead, or how exactly it's handled. I'm guessing this is an easier way for Arrowhead to receive feedback without having their moderators sift through it themselves. However, as I mentioned a few seconds ago, they're also looking at feedback on the Discord as well, which is moderated by the moderators, of course. So I think it's just more of a efficient method to receive, more feedback through two different methods. Last but not least, the Arrowhead team has been discussing how they plan to approach this update in terms of fun and difficulty. I provided some proof previously about this, something to the effect that Arrowhead intends to make the game enjoyable initially, but if it turns out to be too easy, they can incrementally increase the difficulty until they find the perfect balance. The community manager addressed some of these concerns, responding to a member by saying, "I think we need to view this as an important first step to us getting back to being aligned with what the players want. There's been a disconnect there we can and won't be able to and shouldn't even please all. Again though, should the game prove itself to be too easy after this for a fair share of the player base, it should be easier to make it more difficult and fun than it is to make it more fun and feel viable to a larger base now, without us buffing some stuff. I think Arrowhead has got their strategy right this time around. Will we see a nerf or two? Probably, and if we do, I wouldn't be too upset because it seems like they're balancing it by adjusting other weapons to compensate for the nerfs, which is completely fine. Now, the last thing you would want is a game where most weapons are nerfed, with only 2 or 3 weapons or stratagems receiving buffs. From what it looks like, the next update won't be anything like that, and I suspect we'll get more news on this as time progresses. With that said, if the next update includes any nerfs, the community shouldn't be too upset about it, right? As I mentioned earlier, there are many exciting changes on the way, and I believe these buffs significantly will outweigh any nerfs, assuming there are any nerfs at all. Overall, I think this will be a great patch, especially if they can address the major issues like crashing and performance. If they manage to do that, it would be the icing on the cake. I'm curious to know how you all feel about these changes. Please share your thoughts by posting a response in the comment section below. With that information out of the way, let's talk about the current Major Order. I believe we're on the verge of either completing it or very close to failing. The fact is, the lack of players has made these Major Orders challenging to the point where the latest Major Order is on the brink of failure, assuming we're not successful in holding the planet Ember, along with defending the other 2 planets. We have about 17 hours left at the time of making this video, though that will have changed by the time you watch this. So we're cutting it close. I recommend that you start defending these planets as soon as possible, and then we can move on to another planet to, hold for the time being. I think we can pull this off, but it's really close to failing. But I suppose it doesn't matter really, right? I mean, it does. It's a Major Order. You're going to receive medals. But at the same time, the player base is gone because they don't want to come back because there's nothing really there to do. And with this next update, there very well could be a lot of changes on the way, including customization, maybe there's more ways to spend medals, stuff like that. I think that's going to be great. And like I mentioned in the, previous video, I cannot wait for these changes and I'm excited. But overall, again, try not to be too overhyped because you never know how these patches will turn out. With all the information being said, this is your Helldivers 2 news. If you guys would like to be featured in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below. The first comment is by CrackDog3523. Hilarious name. It's way easier to buff difficulty going forward is exactly what we've been trying to explain to the tryhards. The game can and will get harder as they add higher difficulties, add more variants, etc. It's still early in its life cycle. The second comment is by Unit 398. They should call this update the escalation of escalating escalations. Okay, you guys are getting brutal in these comments, or some of the usernames are just ridiculous. I mean, in a funny way, by the way. But anyways, the last and final comment is by James Sharbinger1711. Will changing the flamethrower make the game too easy? The risk of closing the distance to use the weapon in the first place is the danger. There you go. Those are the top 3 comments. If you guys would like to be featured in the next video, remember, all you have to do is comment down below. And with that said, thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you guys continue to support the channel by giving it a like and commenting and all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.